Hi everyone, I'm Shelly from There's No Place Like redheadmom8.wordpress.com. I just want to thank you so much for stopping in to chat and to just have a conversation with one another. That's one thing that I really, really love about our Thursday nights, is because all of the videos that I do for you they're kind of tutorials. They're just one-sided. They're me talking. I really, really enjoy having this interaction with you where you get to ask me questions and I can actually answer you right away rather than waiting until I have a quiet time at night to answer comments on my videos. And I also love to see the interaction that all of you have together. Hi, Twins at Heart and Family, Dawn Wade. Hi. Danny Suzette, yes. Do you have a question? I can try. I will try to answer your question. So last week, I am sorry I was not able to do the live stream because my two oldest kids, they actually decided that they were going to come over. So I don't really get to see them very much. So I decided that I was going to cancel the live stream last week. But I'm here this week, and Lord willing, I will be here again next week. And now the following week after that is Thanksgiving. So there will be no live stream after that. But we'll talk about that anyway. But I just figure I'm just kind of trying to let everybody come in. It's so good to see all of you. So yeah, today's topic is actually why it's important to know your state homeschool laws. And I know that if you guys have been here before, or if you've been on my blog, you know that I have addressed this before. But this is a topic that I see, it keeps popping up over and over and over again. Hi, Alyssa, Mayflower Homeschool, Crystal Lynch, Tachi, Danny Suzette, did you message me? I didn't. It says I burped you. I don't know what you mean. It's probably autocorrect. But anyway, so yeah, this is something that keeps popping up over and over again. So it's something that I really think that we need to address, especially if you are newer to homeschooling. So the reason that I brought this up today is because someone actually asked me today about preschool. She was under the impression from things that other people were telling her that preschool is required by state law, and that if she would not sign her almost 3-year-old up for preschool, that she would risk having her child taken from her. And this is really the mentality that is going on nowadays. It's crazy. It is horrible to see all of these stories. I subscribe to the parental rights. Is it parentalrights.org or .com? I'm not sure. I think it's .org. But anyway, yeah, so I'm subscribed to that, and I'm constantly seeing people who are like having CPS called on their kids, for usually a lot of times for homeschooling, sometimes for not. But now we're getting to the point where people actually think that they must send their kids to preschool because you hear so much stuff about preschool all the time. And that's why I thought that it was so important that we talk about this today, because there are a lot of people out there who just, they want to homeschool their kids, but then they see these things that are really, really, confusing them. A lot of people who have nothing to do with homeschool are telling them all of this information about their kids, and it really saddens me because I'm afraid that it's going to make a lot of people decide that they're not going to homeschool their kids after all. So this is the very first thing that I want to just point out, is that I do not know of any state at all where preschool is mandatory at all. So and that is just one of those things where I think you need to, if you want to homeschool your kids, don't listen to people who have never done it. Don't look at your state's school or your state's laws for public education. Don't look at those laws, because very often they have nothing to do with homeschooling. They're not even the same. And actually, for a lot of states, the laws for cyber schooling and homeschooling are completely different in a lot of states. So this is where it is so important that you know these things, because you have all of these issues now with people getting in trouble for homeschooling because they don't know their laws correctly, or because a lot of times they're assuming things that aren't true. So first things first, and I think that for some reason a lot of people overlook that. They overlook the fact that you need to know what the law says in order to homeschool. Some people get so excited about homeschooling and about getting curriculum and figuring out how they're going to teach their kids, but they don't stop and think, what do I need to do in order to do this legally? So you need to look up your state homeschool laws. HSLDA.org is a really good place to look. I have heard people say that it's not exactly right for some states. Now, that is just what I have heard from other people. I myself have never seen incorrect information on HSLDA.org. It's really good for my state. But I don't know if any of you have ever seen anything with HSLDA.org. But anyway, yeah, know your state homeschool laws. Look it up on hslda.org if you have to. Get in touch with other homeschoolers, especially seasoned homeschoolers, because if you ask other new homeschoolers, a lot of times they don't really know the laws right either. I did not have a firm handle on our state homeschool laws until I was homeschooling for years, because I made the mistake of never actually reading the laws for myself. I made the mistake of I never even went to hslda.org to check these things. So I was just kind of listening to what people were telling me, and it turned out that I was completely over-complying, which I guess if you look at it, over-complying in the eyes of, the bureaucrats is certainly better than under-complying. But yeah, you have to know these things. So let me go over to some of your questions and see what you have to say. Okay. Hold on one second. Okay. Sorry, I see that we have a troll, so I was just trying to get rid of her because that was really annoying. So anyway, let me see what all I missed so far. Kristen said, I'm always shocked when people talk about preschool curriculum. Like, why? And you know what? The reason why is because we're just like bombarded with it all the time. It's everything is about preschool all the time. Private preschools and Head Starts and all of these things telling you that your kids will not succeed if they do not go to preschool. Preschool is a really, really new concept. And people succeeded long before preschool was ever invented. So that is something that I think is really funny. And I actually just talked to someone today, and I told them the main reason for preschool is money. If it's through Head Start, it's money from the government. It's money for funding for those programs. If it's a private preschool, of course, it's money for the owners of those preschools. That's what it's about. You do not need to homeschool your 3- and 4-year-old kids. You don't have to do it, and you don't have to get yourself all worked up on curriculum for kids this age. Do they sometimes want to do like school type work at that age? Yes, I have one of those. My 5-year-old was like that. She always wanted to be involved in school, but it's not something that you should ever expect your 3- or 4-year-old to do it. If you decide that you're going to go out and get them a few workbooks because they asked for them, that's fine. But if they ever say, I don't want to do it today, it's fine. Don't ever think that you have to have your kids doing the that your kids have to be doing those workbooks. They're little. Playing is the way that they learn best. So I just, that is something that I really, really want to get out there. Preschool is about money. It is not about education. Okay, let's see. Kristen said, we had CPS called on us the day we took Emma out last year. School called. Yeah, Kristen, I think you did mention that before. That is awful. I would have freaked out. I really would have. It's so scary thinking about these sorts of things. Dawn Wade said, we've not had any issues with our district. With us, we didn't really have really bad issues. The issues that we've had with our district is that for a while there, for years, because, this is my 10th year homeschooling, and I went for years where, they were asking for too much. They were constantly requiring too much from the parents. And again, this goes back to knowing your law, because at first, yeah, I was giving them too much because I didn't know any better. And that's my own fault. And so that's, you know, they were getting away with it for the longest time with other parents in our district who were handing in all of this stuff to them, like standardized test scores. They kept asking to see standardized test scores. And the laws were changed way back in October, I think, of 2014, saying that they did not get the standardized test scores anymore, and they were still asking for them. And the reason they were asking for them is because people didn't know the law and were still giving them. So that's just, you know, and that's another thing that I wanted to talk about is don't ever ask your school district for information on homeschooling. Just don't do it. Like, don't ask them for information about how to homeschool, and don't ask them for information on the law, because the fact is that your school district probably knows less about the homeschool law than you do. Even if you don't know much about the homeschool law, the school district will very often know even less than you do, because that is not their area. You know, their area is the public school, and they just kind of pick this up because they have to. Don't ever ask them for information on homeschool laws. And I say not to ask them about how to homeschool because, again, that's not their area. Homeschooling and public school are two completely different things. And I say that so many times. You have got to just differentiate between the two. And years ago, I actually wrote a blog post called Dear New Homeschooler, I forget, or it was an open letter to the new homeschooler I just met today. That's what it was called. And it was spurred on because I actually went in to turn something into the school district, and they were talking to a brand new homeschooler. And I heard the new homeschool parent asking the people at the school district where to get like curriculum or where to look for curriculum. And I remember hearing them at the school district telling him that he should hire a teacher, and that a teacher would explain to him where he could go for that. And I just walked in, and then I have to say that when the secretary saw me, because she knows me from going there for so many years, she kind of had this look of relief on her face when she saw me, because she knew that I had been doing it for years. And she was like, ask her. And I went up to him and I was like, you don't need to hire a teacher. So I just kind of went over a few things with him. I gave him the link to my blog and everything. Hopefully he actually went to it. But yeah, you don't ask your school district for any of that information. Not because, and I'm not saying that it's because they're nasty or because they're going to intentionally mislead you. You know, most of the time it's just out of ignorance. And I'm not being mean when I say ignorance. I'm saying that they honestly don't know. That's not something that they were ever prepared for. So let me go back here. Let's see. Michelle Pierce, you finally made it. You know what? I hope you didn't come last week when I canceled it. Tachi said it's not mandatory now, but I fear it's coming, at least pre-K 4. You know what? Not even just pre-K. Kindergarten itself is a new concept. Like, I wish that I would have the year, and I read that in a John Taylor Gatto book, Rest His Soul. I'm so upset. Did you hear that he passed away? I was literally in tears. I felt like he was a member of my family, and I remember that. Oh, my son is home. Hold on one second. Guys! Bailey, can you let Dylan in? My son is like pounding on the front door to come in. But anyway, when I heard that John Taylor Gatto died, I was in tears. And I remember saying to my daughter said to me, Mom, why are you so upset? You never even met him. And I said, I didn't have to meet him, you know, because John Taylor Gatto had such an impact on my life. But anyway, so it was from one of his books that I found out that, yeah, kindergarten is also a new concept. It's not something that has always been going on. So anyway, let me see. Crystal Lynch, don't most states only require kids to start school by age 6? Well, that actually even varies too, Crystal, because here in Pennsylvania, they do not have to report until age 8. I think that Philadelphia School District is the only school district that is different from the rest of the state, which I don't get. Like, why is one school district different from the entire rest of the state? I think Philadelphia might have to report by 7. I'm not sure. But all the rest of our state does not have to report until age 8. So it's usually between ages 6 and 8. Yeah, and Vicky said they are definitely trying to get kids earlier and earlier. Oh yeah, because the longer they can have their hands on your kids to indoctrinate them, yeah, I'm going to go back to that, the better for them, honestly. Let me see. Okay. Kristen said Emma's pre-K was 100% play, no bookwork or worksheet. I paid a pretty penny for it too. Yeah, and you know what? I have to say that now I did, like, before I knew all this stuff that I know now about school, I did have one of my kids in a pre-K program through the school, and his teacher it was completely play-based. And even then, I completely understood how fantastic that was for these kids. But I remember I went to an open house for this pre-K, and she had to keep explaining to the parents over and over and over again that playing is learning, playing is learning. It just was not sticking in some of these parents' heads that just because their kids aren't bringing home 30 worksheets a day does not mean they're not doing anything. So, you know, I have to say that I was really blessed in that one area of pre-K with my kids. But yeah, kids, they can play at home. They don't need adults to show them how to play. Kids are very good at playing on their own. So, you know, that's one thing. All we need to do is provide them with supervision, provide them with materials, and, you know, if they have a question, ask them. But I don't think there's ever been a point in time when a child has needed an adult to ask them, you know, how do I play? Because kids are great at that. You know, a lot of times we adults, as we get older, we're the ones that don't know how to play. We forget how to play. Crystal Lynch said one of the political campaigns here was that they would provide free public preschool and all-day kindergarten for working parents. And that's exactly what they're doing. School has become a free daycare. That's all that it is anymore. Because I think that most parents realize that school just isn't doing what it's supposed to be doing. Okay, no, let me rephrase that. School is doing what it was supposed to be doing if you look at the real reason it was created. But if you look at what parents think school is supposed to be doing, which is educating, it's not doing that at all. And it's just getting worse and worse and worse. So, and the only thing I can think of why so many people just completely overlook that is because, yes, it is free daycare. That's what it is for a lot of people. Let's see. Alyssa Bass said, yes, we have to learn our laws because they will run us over if we let them tell us what to do without us knowing the guidelines. Yes, they absolutely will. And again, sometimes it's out of ignorance, but sometimes there are those school districts. I think it was happening a lot in Pennsylvania there for a while, because once they changed those laws in October of 2014, because Pennsylvania is one of the strictest states to homeschool in. And when they changed them, like all of a sudden, these school districts no longer had access to the homeschool portfolios. Only the evaluator gets those now. The school district no longer had access to the book lists or book logs. Only the evaluator gets that now. The school district no longer has access to those test scores. Only the evaluator gets that now. And I think that a lot of these school districts didn't like that very much. They like to have that sense of control over people. So I think that that's why there were some of them that were pushing for so long, even after they were informed that they weren't allowed to ask for these things because they weren't required by law. They were still doing it, which is I was this close this year to calling HSLDA. If our school district would have sent me a letter asking once again for the test scores, I was going to call HSLDA, and I'm thinking that someone else must have, because this was the very first year since they changed the law in 4 years ago that they did not ask for those test scores. So I'm thinking that someone beat me to it. So I love HSLDA. Let's see. Yeah, and Kristen, I also found if you realize you know the laws, they lay off. That's exactly right. Because when I told them that we are not required by law to give them the standardized test scores, they no longer asked me for them in person. Like they still sent out the letter because it was just a form letter to everyone. But at first what would happen is when I would go in to drop off the letter from the evaluator, they would ask me for the test scores. And so that was when I told them the law does not require us to give those to you anymore. Only the evaluator gets that. So they never asked me for that again because they knew that I knew. But they were still putting it on those form letters and even circling it on the form letters, because you know that people were giving it to them. They must have been, because there's no way that they would have kept asking them for them for years after that. Okay, homeschool mama of 11. Wisconsin, where I'm from, just elected a new governor Tuesday. He's already said he's not a fan of homeschooling, and parents aren't qualified to homeschool. He was head of DPI. I'm getting a little worried. I would be worried too. That is awful. But thankfully, HSLDA is usually right. I feel like a commercial sometimes for HSLDA. They don't pay me, I promise. I pay them for me to be a part of it. But really, it's just very reassuring to know that we have people like them on our side. And actually, a friend of mine, she pops in every now and then. Autumn, she actually was telling me about Heritage Foundation too, which is another great law group that also sticks with homeschoolers. But we're going to have to closely watch that. But parents aren't qualified to homeschool. That gets me. That really gets me, because look at our schools. Are you kidding me? You know, first of all, they put all this stock into standardized testing, right? Which most homeschooling parents know that standardized testing means nothing, okay? But if you're looking at things from a school perspective and you look at those test scores, our schools are failing if you look at those test scores. Then you have the issues with violence in these schools. You have the issues of parents having teachers having relationships with their students. You know, you've got all of this stuff going on in schools all the time. And then they say, oh, parents aren't qualified to homeschool. Parents have always been their child's first teacher. That's it. And if someone says that, it's about control. It is about control. It is about not wanting kids to be with their parents. And, you know, that is where a lot of people in the political spectrum are nowadays. They want eventually parents to relinquish control of their kids and for these kids to be wards of the state. That's why, you know, Common Core, or one of the people who was behind Common Core, he has actually been saying that he wants schools to start serving free breakfast, lunch, and supper. And he also wants schools, he wants to make public boarding schools for kids who have like less than stellar homes. He wants to give public boarding schools for students who need them. And I'm just thinking, it's starting. I don't know if you've ever read Brave New World, but this Brave New World is happening right now. And I truly, truly believe that a lot of times these writers of like 1984 and Brave New World and even Fahrenheit 451, they all knew something. I don't know how, but they knew something. And it just seems like it's happening now. And if you haven't read Brave New World, go read it. It's by Aldous Huxley. And it is terrifying if you look at it in terms of the way things are today, because you can just see things going down this path. Because in this book, people are no longer raised by their parents. In fact, it is, you know, like taboo. Like you can't even say the words mother and father. It's almost considered like a cuss word to say mother or father. And these people are being raised by the state basically in schools, in these facilities in which they are educated. And I can see our society going farther and farther that way, and it is terrifying. Let's see. Grace and Granola said, hi, Shelly. I'm also in PA, and knock on wood, I thankfully have not had any issues with our district. I probably just jinxed myself. I have nothing to add, but wanted to say your hair looks great short. Thank you. It's much easier to take care of. I was so sick of brushing it all the time. My hair literally was like, I could brush it and get all the knots out, and I would stand still. No wind would blow. I wouldn't move. And if I would try to brush my hair 5 minutes later, there would be knots in it again. So yeah. And I usually do that. Like once a year, I chop all my hair off. So, Charlene, it's nice to see you here. Let me see. It keeps skipping around. Okay, Karasu the Dreamer said, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure you don't have to register with a school district here in Indiana. I don't know what the rules are in Illinois, where I hope to move to. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I wonder if anybody here lives there. Crystal, wow, age 8 is awesome. I just meant that 6 is the earliest, but I'm jealous of 8. Yeah, and even that I'm complaining. I'm like, no, because I have a daughter now who's 7, and she'll be 8 on May 8th. And we finish school the end of May. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I have to sign her up, well, like register her like 2 weeks before we finish school, which means that I'm going to have to pay for an evaluation, and she's only going to be of compulsory school age for 2 weeks. Very frustrating because, you know, I'm doing, how many evaluations do I have this year? Ariana, Kaylin, London, Bailey, Luke, Ireland, and then if I do summer, there'll be 7 evaluations that I have to do, and we have to pay for them. There's like no family rate or anything like that, and it's expensive. So I was hoping to hold off for those 2 weeks. Oh, that stinks. Yeah, and there I am. I'm complaining about 8. Sorry. Yeah, Alyssa Beth said, research your laws for sure. Always good to be in the know. Absolutely. Kristen said, we are in New York, and I think we are strict as well. I know, and you know what? I've got to say, from people that I've talked to in New York, I honestly believe that New York is even more strict than Pennsylvania. Because what do you have to do, like quarterly evaluations, or send something in quarterly, I think? I'm not sure. I could be wrong. Let's see. Kara Sue said the number of non-traditional, non-typical homeschoolers has been growing. It gives me hope I'll be able to find a group of progressive Christian homeschoolers when I have children. Yeah, the groups are growing all the time. All different kinds of groups are popping up. There's literally a place for everyone, it seems like. Alyssa Beth, I didn't know you were in Texas. Oh, you're so blessed. Geez, Texas has like the best homeschool laws, I think. Here in Texas, they are very, very lenient, but Tennessee will be a different story. Yes, you can ask me a question. I probably will not be able to answer it tonight anymore because my 16-year-old still has to watch a video for school. We're going to watch it together after I'm done here. But I will try to answer that for you tomorrow, Alyssa, if that's okay. Let's see. Kristen, my daughter's watching too, and she is like, how in the world is this live chat thing working? Hi, Emma. Isn't that her name? Let's see. Kara Sue the Dreamer said, I know in some parts of the U.S., such as in the, do you mean Los Angeles or Louisiana area, the homeschooling community is largely secular. Yeah, secular homeschooling is definitely growing. It used to be mainly Christians that were homeschooling. But now, yes, there are a lot of secular homeschoolers now. Let's see. Vicki Hayes said, many people are deceived or in denial. They really are. It's so sad. Family Farmhouse said, wow, that's crazy. Public boarding schools. It's scary. My foster daughter always ate breakfast at public school. It was free and all the kindergartners ate together. It made me sad that she didn't eat with us. When my kids were in school, they also ate breakfast at school because in our school district, enough of the kids were low income that the entire school district, no matter of income, got free breakfast and free lunch. So yeah, I was sending my kids there for breakfast too. And now I just really look at those times that my kids were in school as like the dark days of school, or not the dark days of school, but like the dark days of our lives, because now I just thought of the soap opera. But anyway, my mom likes that. But anyway, yeah, those were really dark times for us now. And then when I was just listening to this guy talk and saying about how he would love to get, you know, dinner served in these schools and then public boarding schools, and I was just like, is this guy serious? And he was dead serious, and he just thought this was a fantastic idea. It's awful. Tachi said, I was just watching a talk on Common Core, and it said that there is no evidence ever that standard, state, or national help in any way students' performances at school. No correlation at all. And that's exactly right. They were never meant to help a student's performance. The whole part of Common Core, if you look at the name Common, common is the key word, okay? Because they want everyone to be on equal footing. They want everyone to be the same. And that's another thing, this whole standardization thing. People are not standard. You know, people are individuals, and it's like they're trying to take that individuality out of people. They are trying to bring about collectivism, okay? And collectivism is not the place that our society wants to go, at least in my opinion. But they are trying to accomplish that through Common Core. I wish that I would have the link for who I was watching a video of Common Core on. But I told you that there is that movie called Escaping Common Core. I really, really recommend that. Also, the website exodusmandate.org has a lot of information on Common Core. But there's another one too, Freedom. If I find it, I'll put the link in the description. But there's a lot of great information out there on Common Core, and none of it's good. And you just have to look at it this way. Bill Gates and his wife, they are the ones who funded Common Core. So to me, that right there is not good. And I think that a large part of the reason that they funded Common Core is because the government, it's illegal for them to kind of stick their hands in and trying to do, like, it's illegal for the federal government to get its hands into the education. But since Common Core is funded by a private citizen, now, although he's definitely, you know, doing the handiwork for the government, it's funded by a private citizen. That's how this whole thing passed. And, you know, it's kind of like they make it sound like it's not mandatory, because that also is illegal. But in a way, it's kind of like bribery, because it's either you use our Common Core or you don't get the money from the government for your schools. That's how it is. It is a terrifying situation. One day I would like to do a video on Common Core, but there are so many, because I think, Tachi, were you the one earlier in the group who said that it's like a rabbit hole of information? Common Core really is. There are so many aspects of it that you need to think about. Just like they use these standardized tests for data mining of children. That's what it's for. It's not to see how smart they are. It is for data mining. So I want to do a video on it sometime. I don't feel prepared yet because there's just so much involved. But yes, that's all I can say is research it yourself, even though you're homeschooling, because so far we are not affected by Common Core, but you never know when they're going to start trying to make us do it too. And that's something that I pray will not happen. Let me see. Lexi Blake said, in North Carolina, we are required to have the children tested 1 time per year. We keep the records at our home. They only ask for the test results if the family is audited. Yeah, I think there's a few states like that. I hope you're doing well, Lexi. Okay. Kristen said, my hair is waist length and thick. I know your pain. Yeah, it's awful. Once a year I do. I just chop it all off. My hair grows really fast though. So by this time next year, my hair will be really long again. Excuse me. All right. Okay, Vicky said, I live in Illinois. Easy peasy. No registrations or testing. Compulsory ages 6 to 17, treated as a private school. Okay, so there, she answered that for you. Karasu the Dreamer. I know that I'm probably not saying your name right, and I actually even asked my 19-year-old daughter how to say that, and I forgot. And I'm terrible with that. Anyway, so I apologize if I'm saying it wrong. Anyway, Allie's Bookish Life said, I live in Kentucky, and so far it's been pretty simple, though we do have to send in a letter of intent and keep attendance records. It's not bad. Yeah, and that is not bad at all. It always kind of irritated me that I had to, now it's not bad at all anymore. If you find, in Pennsylvania, if you find a like-minded evaluator, you're gold. And my evaluator, she completely sees the value in natural learning. She really leans towards unschooling and eclectic homeschooling. So she is just like perfect for us. She does not ask for more than the law requires. And that is the key in Pennsylvania, is finding an evaluator who thinks like you do and does not ask for more than what they should. So that makes things a lot easier. Pre-2014, before, when we used to have to give the portfolios to the school district and give them all the information, that was really, really stressful for me. And it also kind of irritated me because our school district is not good. Like, not at all. It's terrible, pretty terrible. I think I mentioned in other videos that it was in the paper the one time that the high school is that they're graduating people who have like a 4th grade reading level. So, you know, I'm not in a good school district. And it kind of irritated me that I have to answer to a school district that can't even educate its own students. So that always kind of made me a little bit angry. So you do have quarterly reports. Let's see. My things keep skipping around. So let's see. Okay. Vicky Hayes said, someone told me recently that Oklahoma has the freedom to homeschool written into the state constitution. Yes, I believe that's the only state that actually does that too. It's a Merry Life said Michigan is very lenient too. No reporting at all. Yeah, I have a friend who homeschools in Michigan. And she was always telling me, actually, if you've heard homeschoolyourboys.com, she has that website. Michelle Kasky, her name is, and she also homeschools in Michigan. And she was always telling me how easy it is to homeschool there. And I was just like, no, that's not fair. Let's see. I'm just trying to see if there's any questions here. Super Soldier Right said, hi, first time here on live chat and love your talks. We are in Michigan. Oh, you're in Michigan too. And it is very laid back. I'm loving our homeschool journey. I'm so glad to hear that. SFerg7328, I'm glad I found your channel. I'm considering homeschooling my 9-year-old son with ADHD. Typical school isn't working for him. Oh, yeah. I definitely understand that. I have a son with ADHD. I have a couple other kids that I suspect may also have it, and it did make all the difference in the world, because the public education system, not even just public, you know, even private schools, the way that they are organized, that they're not made for kids who need to move. They're just not made for kids who have shorter attention spans. They're not made for kids who learn in a different way. And what ends up happening with those kids is they are made to feel like they are less intelligent than all of the other kids. And because the schools just aren't equipped to teach them in the way that they learn. And this has a lasting impact. You know, my son who has ADHD to this day, now he graduated now, to this day still calls himself stupid because of everything that went on with school. So I actually, that is something that I'm really passionate about is, yeah, if you have a child with ADHD, I honestly believe that homeschooling can be the best thing for them. Freedom Project. Yes, you're right, Kristen. Thank you. Thank you. I knew it had freedom in it. Homeschool Mom of 11 said, yes, he's our way. Homeschool Wisconsin. Wisconsin is pretty relaxed right now, but after the election, it's a blue state now with an anti-homeschool governor. Oh, yeah, I remember you were saying that. Yes. That's so scary. Super Soldier, I love having the freedom to teach without Common Core. Homeschool kids will never be common. Amen. I love that. Elizabeth said the people that are higher ups in the system know that the whole agenda is to try to get the kids to be raised by the state, but even the innocent ones who work for them regurgitate the lies. Yep, that's exactly what it has. You know, and I think a lot of times, I always say that a lot of times the teachers are as much victims of the system as the students are, because the teachers, a lot of them are going into this because they genuinely want to help kids. They genuinely love kids, and they don't see it. They're kind of like brainwashed too, just like the kids. They do not see the true agenda of the schools. And I'm glad to see there are so many people that actually come to my channel and my blog who told me that they are former teachers and are now homeschooling their kids. And I am so happy to see that more and more of them are waking up. So that is really, really, that gives me hope. Bailey, can you get me a water bottle? My mouth is dry. My mouth always gets dry so much when I'm talking here all the time. Karis the Dreamer said the only subjects, thank you, Bailey, I remember much from our art and 11th grade U.S. history. Yeah, it's mainly those ones that we have like the most interest in. Those are the ones that we remember the best. I'm watching this awesome presentation called The Case Against Common Core. Yeah, I've seen that, because the one night I like binged on all this Common Core stuff. And that's what I do. I like go through these spurts. Like I'll binge on the history of school, and then I will binge on the Case Against Common Core, and then I will binge on like something that has to do with the Bible. And it's like, that's what I do. I'm like bouncing all over the place, and I like binge watch these topics. And that's one of the reasons I have a notebook, because I like write all these notes down for all these different areas that I want to research. So yeah, that's how I veg out. I binge watch different things, but I have to say, at least I'm learning from them. Elizabeth said, been taught and think they know what they are talking about, but sadly they've been set up to lead everyone into the false system that school is best for our system. Yes, it is. Vicky, I don't think that's on Netflix, but it is on YouTube if you just type that into the search. Michelle Pierce said the saddest thing is that most of the parents in our area would love to send their kids off to free boarding schools. Yeah. And you know, that's another thing. And this was truly, I believe that it was designed from the beginning. I believe that part of the intention of the compulsory school system was to break up the family. And I have talked about this before. And what ends up happening is the longer that these kids are away from their parents, the less the parents are the authority. And they're at this point now where a lot of parents, they don't care that they're no longer the authority. I can't think of how many times, I've heard parents whose kids were like acting up or back talking them or something, and I've just heard them kind of blow it off and say, I'll let their teacher deal with it. And I'm like, no, this is what you're supposed to deal with. Don't let the teacher deal with it. The teachers aren't their parents. But people don't see that. It's kind of like they're so used to not being around their kids anymore that they don't see it. They're just like, oh yeah, take my kids. I don't care. They're driving me crazy. Oh yeah, get them out of my hair. That's all they want. It's like people want to have kids so badly and they bring them into the world. And then as soon as they get to a certain age, they just want them away all the time. Oh, don't bother me. And it's so sad. And I truly believe it's because we do not have that model of the family anymore. That model of the family working together and staying together, because kids are now separated from their parents at such a young age that these parents no longer know how to be parents. So, enough with my sermon. There's a great video about how they passed a tricky law giving schools an insane amount of power. Oh yeah. I definitely believe that. Let's see. Grace and Granola said, loved your DITL video. You did. I know you are very busy. If you have time before you finish before Christmas break, would you be able to do a video with your Little House Christmas Treasury Unit study? I will try to. I've been doing, Grace and Granola, are you on Instagram? I think you might be, because I've been doing little snippets of like little videos of things that we're doing with the Little House Christmas Treasury Unit study. I don't know if I'm going to have Bella. My cat's shaking the table. I don't know if I'm going to have time to do one, just because next week is our last week of school before Christmas break. So yeah, next week, and then we're off until after New Year's. So, and it's a much needed break. As much as I love homeschooling, at this point, it's a much needed break for me. But I know like 2 weeks down the line, I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, we need to start school again. So we need the structure. But anyway, so I will try. But if you are on Instagram, maybe check those out, because I have done little snippets of activities that we've been doing with my Little House Christmas Unit study. Family Farmhouse, wow, I've only been watching for 5 minutes. This has been so enlightening. Thank you. And you know what? The people in the chat, you guys are so awesome. And that's what, I've watched other live videos where a lot of times there's not much interaction between the person speaking and the people who are talking. And that's what I love. It's kind of like I'm sitting here, just like having a chat with my friends, and I'm talking to you, and yeah, you can see me, I can't see you, but I just love being able to just talk to you in real time, because I know that a lot of times you ask me questions in the comment section of my videos, which I always do try to, well, I do answer them, but a lot of times it takes me a while, because I usually only have like time maybe once a week to answer those questions, because I've got so much going on. Like I have certain things I do every day. So that's what I love about this live stream, is that I can get these questions answered like right away, the best that I can. Let's see. Kristen said, I keep a journal with a list of what we did and a short description daily, what we did, what she struggled with, etc. Saved my rear when my ex tried to cause issues. Yes, that can definitely be helpful if you're in a situation like that. Lexi Blake said, why do some states require at least 180 days and others require 9 calendar months a year? I'm not really sure. I think it just all has to do with the state legislature and whatever they came up with. Let's see. Just trying to see. Kristen said, but a teacher with an associate's in teaching knows more. Wait, did I miss something? Sorry, I'm trying to see if there's any questions here. All right, I keep a journal with a list of, wait, no, I read that. We had the public school argue with my mother-in-law about Emma's nutrition, and she's a Harvard grad, doctor and world-renowned, published and specialized in healing through nutrition. Oh, I know. I had this whole like issue before with I had this whole issue before where I wrote an article for a parenting website, and they wanted me to write about homeschooling. So that's what I did. I wrote an article about homeschooling, but they wanted me to cite experts in this article. And so I cited people that I consider to be experts in homeschooling because they are people who have a background in it. They are people who have done it with their own children. They are people who have created curriculum. They did not accept, this parenting website did not want to accept the people that I was counting as experts. They kept giving me lists of people who have studied homeschooling, who have maybe like studied the numbers of homeschooling, or who have done statistics on homeschoolers, but who have never actually homeschooled themselves. Those were the sorts of people that they were accounting as experts. People who have studied homeschooling, but have never actually done it themselves. And that's this whole, you know, that's just such nonsense that this world has, is they have no idea what real experts are. They don't understand that experts are people who have been there in the trenches actually doing the stuff. They think that an expert is someone who just has the piece of paper. Well, I think we've all seen how you can get a piece of paper in high school and not remember everything, not remember much of anything. So that piece of paper that they get doesn't mean anything. It does not make them an expert. So I think that's something that, you know, we really need to start looking at. We need to bring back the meritocracy and stop just looking at a piece of paper all the time. Let's see. Crystal Lynch said, first year of homeschool here, we have the option of getting a standardized test or getting a portfolio evaluation, both at our own expense. Do you know the pros and cons? Well, we have to do both. Unfortunately, we have to do standardized tests in 3rd, 5th, and 8th grade, and plus we have to do a portfolio evaluation. If I had the choice, since I have such a fantastic evaluator, I would do the portfolio evaluation, because my kids get really, and I get really, really stressed out over those standardized tests, because even though they know that I don't care what their score is, the evaluator, she doesn't care what their score is, they see, it's just, they know that they're gonna, that, how can I put it? They know that these standardized tests matter to so many people that even though I'm telling them that they don't matter, and even though the evaluator doesn't care, it's still something that's stressful to them, and it's still something that's taking, you know, like 6-8 hours in a day to get this test done. So to me, I think that if you have a good evaluator, somebody that you trust, somebody who knows the law, does not ask for more than it requires, and who sees things the way that you do, I would go with the evaluation. But it really hinges on that, because you don't want to have an evaluator or get an evaluation done with someone who maybe doesn't see eye to eye with you about the way that kids learn. I hope that helped. Jean Arredondo said, I love your videos. Thank you. You've helped me so much. You're welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. Alyssa's a binge researcher as well. How did I know that? I knew that you were. Kara Sue the Dreamer said, the only reason I learned anything in 11th grade U.S. history is because of the projects I did. Yeah, honestly, I don't even remember anything from history. My senior year of history, I ended up having like over 100% as my average, and that is honestly because I was on the mock trial team, which I also don't remember much from. But since I was on the mock trial team, my history teacher was always giving me extra credit points. But do I remember anything? Even though I had well over a 4.0. I was gifted, so it could have been a 5.0 because our A's were worth 5 points. And I don't remember anything from history. Just going to continue. Let me see. Charlene said, I am shocked to how many parents don't know that they can opt their children out of Common Core testing. It drives me crazy. I know. Someone just said that her kids were being homeschooled and she decided to put her kids back into school. And that was the first thing I said. Opt your kids out of Common Core, because they are data mining your kids. They are looking for identifying features of your kids. That is what they are doing. And they actually, I forget what the numbers are, but there's like a certain number of areas that people can look at that they can actually steal your identity. And the amount of identifiable features that they get from these standardized tests on kids is like triple or quadruple the number of things that people need just to steal your identity. They are literally, it's scary what they are doing. It's almost like they are spying on children. And again, it's not about how well they're doing on these tests. These tests, a lot of them nowadays are more to gauge their, because a lot of these curriculums, they're values-based curriculum. They don't care so much. They don't care about the academics. They want to know what sorts of character choices your kids will make. And that is the stuff that they're watching. They want to make sure that their indoctrination is rubbing off on the kids. Let's see. Kristen said, once the kids aren't cute anymore, parents are okay with dumping them because they no longer bring attention to the parent. I know there are some people like that, and there are others who I honestly believe it's just because they have never learned how to be parents. They just haven't been. You know, there's been generations now where kids are taken from their parents at the age of 5, and then the teacher kind of becomes more like a parent. I always felt like that. When my kids were in school, I felt like their teacher was more their parent than I was. I always felt like I was answering to the teacher about my own kids, and it didn't sit right with me. Like something did not feel right to me. And so I'm sure that there are other people who feel that too. And I'm just hoping that more people wake up and realize, wait a minute, this isn't how it should be. So I'm always praying for that. But at the same time, I'm always worried. What all of a sudden, what if there's like this huge awakening in this country and all these people start homeschooling their kids? What is the government going to do? Are they going to outlaw homeschooling then? That is what I'm worried about, because if all these people are homeschooling their kids, the government's not going to have that control over the kids anymore, you know? So that's something that I really think about a lot. Let's see. Tachi said, so true, Shelley. I'm a huge believer that the source of almost all problems in our society is the destruction of the family unit. It really is. It really is. And I truly, it was done intentionally. It was done intentionally. Super Soldier writes that I don't mean to get preachy, but the Bible does tell us parents to raise up our children in the way they should go, not the school system. Yes, there's a book by Israel Wayne called Education, Does God Have an Opinion? And that is an excellent book for anyone to read who is not sure, you know, whether they believe that homeschooling is biblically mandated. Because I know a lot of people say, well, you know, homeschooling education isn't really addressed in the Bible. He makes a really good argument that it is addressed in the Bible. And if you don't, it's a pretty intensive book. But if you he also has a video on YouTube with a talk about the book, and that is also really good. So Israel Wayne, and it's called Education, Does God Have an Opinion? Let me see. Let's see. Elizabeth said, preachy is what this world needs, though. We're losing that, and that's why everything is how it is. Yes, that's true. I've been saying that for so long because, you know, there are so many people out there who are looking at things, I think, and really, they've been deceived. And yet they are the loudest people out there. They are the loudest voices. So that is what everyone hears. And those of us who trust in God's word, we just stay silent. And that's not what we should be doing. We should not remain silent about these things. I'm just going to get a drink of water. Okay, sorry. Karis to the Dreamer said, I suspect things might change as more families outside of the homeschooling norm choose to educate their kids at home. Yes, I definitely, and she said nothing wrong with conservative Christian homeschoolers at all. Yes, I agree with you. It's definitely becoming more mainstream. Let's see. Karis to the Dreamer said, by the way, I'm an independent liberal, though I don't think all conservatives are evil. I thank you. And you know, I don't think that all liberals are evil either. I think that I think that a lot of times the powers that be are trying to pit us against each other. That is what they're trying to do because they're trying to distract us from what they are doing. So I always say that. But yeah, I definitely appreciate having you here, Karis to the Dreamer. Let's see. Wow, we've got a lot of trolls on here tonight. We've had 3 of them so far. I already had to block like 3 people from here. What's going on? Anyway, let's see. Okay, Grace and Granola said, I did see your Instagram pics. You are so inspirational, and I love seeing what and how you teach your children. I want you to homeschool me. Sure, come on over. Have a great night. You too. You too, Grace and Granola. Vicky Hayes said, my high school memories are a blur, literally, and I still was considered average. Sad, isn't it? Yeah, it is, and I think that it's the same story for a lot of people. Let's see. Vicky Hayes said, that's how I know it doesn't take that much to keep up with public school. I know. It's so sad. Anyway, Charlene Brewer said, do your high school students have to do standardized tests? Here in New York, our high schoolers need to test all 4 years. No, they do not. Our kids only have to do standardized tests in 3rd, 5th, and 8th grade. And that is actually why my 19-year-old asked if I could homeschool her for high school, because she actually was in honors classes in school, and she stayed in school like while I was homeschooling some of the other kids. And because I still hadn't woken up yet to school. I just knew that something was off, but I didn't know how badly it was off. So she was still in school. She actually asked me if she could come home for high school, because the standardized tests just, they made her so nervous. She didn't want to deal with them in high school because they had just added new standardized tests. And so, yeah, she knew that she wouldn't have to be tested in high school. So anyway, let's see. You can see that I have someone else to hide. All right. Anyway. So Kristen said Emma can hold a conversation with any adult because we never talk down to her. My husband insists she be treated with respect and her thoughts valued. It's a game changer. Yes, absolutely. Carol Bond said, I'm doing virtual school in South Carolina. We've loved it until we got to 1st grade math, Common Core. That's brought me here. Luckily for me, I know I have tons of choices. South Carolina is a great state to homeschool. That's good to know. There are, you know what, and again, I'm not going to complain too much about Pennsylvania, but I know there are so many other states that have like so much more freedom than we do. Elizabeth said, I wish everyone would start homeschooling and stop voting, and the government would finally realize they can't control us and that we are no longer ignorant to their tactics. Yeah, I think that a lot of us are waking up, but at the same time, I think that there are so many people who aren't, and it's just so sad. Okay, 10529 Aaron said, you're right, I gave ITBS testing a couple of years ago and the social studies section was full of environmentalist questions. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's not even about academics anymore. Let's see. Karis Through the Dreamer said, there are liberals I think are evil. Things have just become more corrupt in the U.S. I wrote in a candidate in the Indiana Senate election. I was so furious with both candidates. I know, it's like a lot of them, they just act like children. And again, I still think it's all about divide and conquer. That's what it is. Divide and conquer. And if they keep us fighting with one another, if they keep the left and the right fighting with one another, then we don't see what they're doing somewhere off in the side. And I say that all the time. But we get dragged into it all the time. We get dragged into this fighting between citizens when we should be banding together, you know? Let me see. Crystal Lynch said, I loved what you said in a previous video. When did it stop being acceptable to exhort people? And, you know, that's the point we're at right now with all the censorship going on. You know, it's like all these, and a lot of it, yeah, it's conservatives a lot of time that have been censored, like on Twitter and a lot of times on Instagram, and anything that does not like really fit the narrative of what the people who own these social media platforms and even YouTube here, you know, they're being silenced. So even things like freedom of speech are, you know, worried about that too. Anyway, Kristen said a dead pimp was elected in Nevada. Really? People are so uneducated despite government's claims we are more educated. I didn't know that, but I do know that in my own city, we elected a new mayor, or, you know, a new mayor, was it last year? And at the time, our mayor that we had was being investigated by the FBI for racketeering and all this other stuff. Okay, he was like pay to play and all this other nonsense. He's being investigated by the FBI. All these other people are in jail that he had worked with, and they were all pointing the finger at him. The people in my city re-elected this guy. They re-elected him. I was furious, and I thought, oh my gosh, where is their brains? Why are they re-electing him? So yeah, he's still technically our mayor. Actually, no, I think that he did finally step down now because he's in jail. He was convicted. And these people re-elected him. Now, he hadn't been convicted when they re-elected him. The whole investigation was going on, but that's where people are nowadays. They just, they don't even know what's going on. They don't even know. Let's see. Let's see. So Carol Bond says, South Carolina, you only have to join an association, and there are so many to choose from, and you keep up with attendance. Have to have 180 days. My hubs is from PA, Westchester. Oh, okay. I think Westchester isn't too far from here, actually. Let me see. Anyway. And it's actually 10:59. I just looked at the clock right now and realized how late it is. So I think that I answered everybody's questions here today. And wow, you know, homeschooling must be getting popular. I've never had trolls here during my live streams before. Now I know that I'm going to have to start watching the chat better. But anyway, I'm so glad that you all came here to visit with me today. Next week, I will be doing a live stream, and it's going to be on, I think it's going to be on how to use the library in your homeschool. I think a lot of times when we think of the library, we just think of getting books for reports or getting books for silent reading, and we don't realize that you could literally homeschool almost everything with the library. So that's what I'm hoping to talk about on the live stream next week. I see that somebody had, let me see, had written some more comments. Let's see. Vicky Hayes said you need to have someone moderate. I don't know how, but yeah, I know. I was thinking the same thing. I'm going to have to. I'm going to have to look into moderation. I never thought that I would need that for my Rinky Dinky channel, but I guess I'm going to have to look into it. But anyway, when Carol Bond said, thank you, I'll be watching more often since I found you. Can't wait for next week. I'm so glad that you are here, and I just want to say thank you for coming, everybody, and I hope you have a great night.